What's up, everybody? I'm going to go ahead and give you a quick rundown on these trucks. They're going in service within the next couple of days. So we're going to run through this real quick through the lens of start and shift and getting everything swapped over, and then we'll go through the functions of the truck. So first and foremost, with the sliding module, on the slider system, there is a push ball and a pull ball. So it is a push, this mechanism is a push to retract, and it'll lock, and it is a pull to remove. So it's start a shift. The intent of this module, or how this module is set up, is for all of the first line gear. This is just kind of replicating the trunk of an SUV. You can put your gear in here however you'd like it, whatever y'all think is best. We're going to defer to y'all on that. Coming around the back here, you've got your whiteboard set up, radio set up, and then on the passenger side of the vehicle, there are additional cubbies. Just some things to be mindful about when you undo this for the first time. Try not to let it rip to the ground. It'll flip up and hit the tailgate, so that's just kind of trying to keep the damage to a minimum to the back of the truck. But that is just something to kind of be cognizant of when you're interacting with this piece of equipment. Additionally, it's not mounted yet, but there is going to be an O2 bottle mount in the back here. You'll see that when you get possession of the truck. That'll all be installed and ready to go.
All right, Ian, just to go through the push-pull, they're not pulling on anything. That little knob there is just kind of where to put your hand, and you just push it forward, or do you need to pull it a little bit?
Yep, absolutely. So this knob actually is the latching mechanism. So when you pull, it's latching in reverse. So that's what's allowing it to slide in a rearward motion. And then when you push it, that's going to go ahead and allow you to push the mechanism back in. And it is just a good idea to push on the ball as much as you can, but you can use your other hand and put that somewhere on the box. That's perfectly fine. When it comes to this, it's best, especially when it's under load and we have everything mounted and all the pieces of equipment on board, we don't want to leave this at full extension if ever possible. It's always best to kind of leave this at half extension or keep this retracted in the truck. So only pull this if you have to gain access to your gear. If you are using the whiteboard function of the truck, it is best to at least have it to where it clears the tailgate. And you'll feel it, but there are lock points throughout the entire sweep of the mechanism. But it would be best if you're using this in a medical branch ops kind of scenario, it would be best to kind of pull that just enough to clear the tailgate so you don't have to reach over it, but it's not at full extension. It'll reduce the wear and tear on the bearings. Over time, if you leave it at full extension with all of the weight on it, it'll get a little gritty when you start retracting it and all of that. So we want to try not to keep it at full extension. Above and beyond that, back here, there's some interesting functionalities that are built in the truck, and we can dive into it when we start going through the lighting functionalities. But there's a kill switch for the Dominator bar back here, or the traffic advisor. So if you are operating back here and you're using the whiteboard and things of that nature, and you don't want that in your eyes, there's a little black button here, and we'll label it, but it's a kill switch. So it's going to go ahead and kill this and allow you to operate back here without all that light in your face. Additionally, there's a toggle switch. Toggle up is white light, so it'll give you white scene lighting at the rear. It'll turn on your hatch lights, it'll turn on the box lights, and it'll turn on your task lights in a white mode. And if you pull down on it, it's going to do the same thing, but it's going to do red. So it'll kind of preserve your night vision. So just depending on what your preference is there, you've got some options. Additionally, you've got a radio, so this is a standard 800 megahertz UHF, VHF, Motorola APX 8 or APX 8500. It's got our standard code plug. There's nothing special here. So if you've used one of these, you know what's going on here. Additionally, there's a storage drawer, and the thing that I want to point out is I'm going to defer to the EMS division. However you all find best to set these trucks up in terms of what you keep where, that's all up to y'all. Just be mindful that these things are very much breakable. So whenever you're using the drawers and things of that nature, try not to put a lot of pressure on them or lean up against them or anything like that, and we should be good to go. Additionally, there is a pull-out workstation here. This is also dry erase, so if you want to keep some notes here, keep some notes here. You know, whatever your workflow looks like, if you need to use it, that is something that's available. Above and beyond, we've got some USB and some 12 volts options, so you can charge the iPad. We're working on getting an additional mag mount for the iPad, so you can bring it from the cab, bring it to the rear of the truck, hook that up to the whiteboard, and you can literally position that wherever you want to have that data and that information. Let's see, above and beyond, we've also got a data port, but that's more for in severe situations where we've got multiple folks that are coming down to maybe provide overhead assistance to y'all. There's an additional tie-in here for some additional data, but there is a data port back here. On the box itself, you'll notice if you circle it, there's 110 volt outlets in each of the top 2 cubbies on the passenger side, and there's 2 sets, so 4 outlets total in the main bay, if you will, on the driver's side for equipment. All right, so moving to the cab of the truck, one of the most important components of this build is the inverter system. So this is a 2,000 watt inverter. It powers everything that's in the box. It also provides auxiliary power to all of the warning equipment and the response equipment that's built onto this truck. Additionally, all of our outlets are ground fault protected. So if you are operating in less than friendly weather conditions, you can still run your power and you know, it's all good to go there. But if for whatever reason you were to trigger a ground fault, the very first thing that you're going to want to do is come under this seat here. This is the master ground fault outlet. So this is where everybody's kitchen should probably have one of these. I'm sure everybody has tripped one of these once in their life, but this is the very first part that you would check if you have a ground fault. So if there is a condition in the bed where there is no electrical power at the outlets, this is the first place that I would come and check. From here, I would also check the inverter itself. When it's on shore power or when the vehicle's running, you should have 4 green lights on the side of this inverter, and that's on the passenger side. So when you look at this, there's going to be you'll see a toggle switch and you'll see a light array. If you see any flashing orange or anything like that, that indicates that there's a fault in the system, and that might be something that you're going to need to notify James or get in touch with us so that we can do some troubleshooting. But this is the inverter system. While we're also back here, it is another really good thing to kind of talk about. If we can help it, if you've got some stuff that's covered in snow, or if you've got like a yak tracks or snow boots, or whatever y'all bring to work when we are under inclement weather conditions, just be mindful that this inverter rides on a carpeted plywood platform. So if at all possible, we would strongly advise against keeping anything that might create a puddle in this space here. Try to keep that to that side of the truck, and we should be fine. So as long as you put that stuff on the driver's side, we're good to go, which is why we put this on this side and not that side. But just something to also be aware of. Additionally, the gateway for the vehicle, so all of your internet connectivity, we've got an MG90 here that's mounted to the back of the console, and we did that so that y'all could see the status lights. So if there was a connectivity issue, it's really easy to troubleshoot. Get on the horn with Pat, and you can describe to him what faults or whatever the system is doing. Y'all can kind of troubleshoot that, shoot it that way. The radio also is mounted underneath the driver's seat, so just another thing to be cognizant of. Try not to shove anything under the driver's seat. The radio body itself lives under there. Unfortunately, with the way that these trucks are built, there was not really a lot of room for us to put that radio body anywhere else, so that's also under the seat. Just something to be aware of. We want to try and keep that area clean and not wedged full of stuff. But that's basically it in the rear of the driver's compartment, and we can probably jump up to the front of the compartment to kind of go over the layout and take it from there. Go. All right, so inside the truck, you'll notice first off the hop, we've got a RAM mount here for the iPad. The charging ports are directly behind it, so you'll see it all tethered in. There really shouldn't be a whole lot that y'all have to do there. Some behaviors that I want to go ahead and point out with the electrical system, first and foremost, is that there's a 15-minute timer on power inside the truck. So when the truck is turned off, if it's not connected to shore power, if it's not on shore power and the vehicle's off, you've got 15 minutes for this iPad to stay on and for everything that's connected to the upfitment side of the electrical side of the truck, it's on a 15-minute timer. So after 15 minutes, it either has to be on shore power or the truck has to be on in order for you to use this stuff. So that's something that's really important to point out. But above and beyond that, this is pretty standard setup. So we've got a radio here. Again, it's the same radio system that we've been using. Really not a whole lot to talk about there. The mic is on a magnetic mic system. So hopefully that makes things a little bit easier there. But when we actually get into the controller system itself, this truck has automated behaviors, and there's some things that are going to happen automatically and some things that you all still will have to trigger. So kind of moving through the truck, we'll just go ahead and talk about response modes. So with this controller system, there's a 4-position slider. Position 1, which they call technically position 0, when it's all the way over to the left, is off. So none of your warning equipment is on. When you move into position 1, slide position 1 is basically and we'll kind of show these different positions on the exterior of the truck, but it is intended for situations where maybe you come up on a disabled motorist, or situations that don't really warrant crazy flash pattern or anything like that, and you'll see that when you get the truck. But when we move into position 2 is actually the response lighting pattern for the truck. So this is response mode, but it does not bring on sirens. So there are no sirens, but you've got full lights and they're in a full warning capacity. When you move from position 2 to position 3, this is in demo mode right now, so the sirens aren't coming on, but in the final programming, when you go to position 3 is your full response mode with lights, and that also brings on your wail. So the siren, both sirens will come on, and it'll come on in the wail pattern. The howler does not engage. The howler is toggle on, toggle off, and we'll get into that in just a second. So when you are in response mode, when you go to position 2, you'll get all your lights, and then when you're ready to go ahead and turn on the siren, just slide that over to position 3, and that brings on your wail sirens. So from there, we'll kind of move through the controller functions. So standby. So what standby does is standby actually will momentarily cut your sirens. So if you're responding, and let's say you're coming up on a bunch of people, on the sidewalk or something like that, and you don't want to deafen them, if it's safe to do so, you can engage that standby, and that'll just very briefly interrupt the siren tones. Moving from standby to radio, radio will actually rebroadcast your radio over the PA. So if for any reason at all you needed to hear radio traffic and you needed that radio traffic to be louder, you can put that over your PA with the radio button. Hands-free, when you toggle that on, that engages the horn control, so that actually activates the horn relay, and that'll allow you to toggle through sirens using the horn. So that's something that you can toggle on, toggle off. A note about the hands-free will engage the horn and allow you to cycle through things. At its default, that actually engages the horn. It brings on the howler and the horn at the same time. So the vehicle horn, an electric horn, and the howler horn will come on when you're in a response mode and you hit the horn. If you toggle on hands-free, that'll actually start changing your siren tones. So that kind of gives you an option, based on your personal preferences, what you want the vehicle horn to do for you. So moving to the right, we've got the howler button. So the howler button will, again, in the live programming, that will actually bring on the howler, and this will bring on the howler in any mode. So no matter where your slide position is, no matter what siren mode you're in, the howler button is going to bring on the howler. So that kind of gives you a little bit more control over that. Next up is the yelp. So when you hit the yelp, that's actually going to bring on one of the sirens in a yelp pattern. It's going to bring the other siren speaker on in a whoop. So you get a dual tone. The howler, again, does not default in these modes. If you want howler, you have to toggle that on or toggle that off. Moving to piercer. So when you go to the piercer, what that does is that brings on the piercing tone. It brings on a escalated whooping tone, and then it'll also bring on the howler. So the piercing is your intersect, really designed to be your, or intended to be your intersection clearing mode. Yelp is just if you need to change up your pattern for whatever reason and maybe grab a little bit more attention while you're cruising. The manual will momentarily bring on your sirens, and it'll bring on the low frequency howler. So you can actually hear that one works. And you'll notice that if I want to kill it, I can hit the standby and it'll cut it off. Moving from there, that's your basic siren, your basic siren control and layout. There's some additional scene functionalities. So this midsection of this controller is where you have all of your scene functionalities or special functions. So the very first one is no matter what mode you're in, we have a front cut. So if for whatever reason you need to kill all of the warning lighting to the front of the vehicle, you can hit front cut and that'll turn all of it off, the red and the white. You have a scene left, scene right, scene front. What that does is bring on flood lighting, so white flood lighting. And these can be independently controlled, so you can put the lighting where you need it. You've got scene to the rear, so what that actually does is bring on all the amber lights. There are no rear-facing white lights, so we actually use amber to illuminate the rear if you need it. Standby red, or steady red, excuse me, is where the entire truck will light up red. So what that's intended to be is if you're out somewhere and you don't want to blind everybody, but you need some task lighting, you can light the whole truck up red to preserve night vision. From there, there's a wigwag cut. And we put wigwag cut next to white cut, and what that allows you all to do is, in the event that there's snow, fog, or some sort of heavy rain or something like that, where you're getting a lot of splashback from the white light, you can kill all the white light on the vehicle, and it doesn't matter what pattern you're in, what mode you're in, it'll pull all the white out, and it'll be a red only response mode. So typically, if you're bringing on the white cut, all you would do is just hit both of these at the same time, and it'll override the wigwag and it'll remove the white from the light patterns. From there, we've got a driving light mode, so that what that does is that just gives you a little bit more white light to the front. Those are the two light heads that are forward facing on the push bumper, excuse me. And then lastly, we have low power. So what we decided to do is give you all control over low power instead of automating that. Because there may be situations where you need that extra light output when it's dark out and vice versa. So rather than put that up to whatever the computer is doing on this truck, we're actually going to give you guys the ability to toggle that on and off. So low power, it is advisable at night if you're in if it's really dark out or something like that. That just brings that intensity down. You're still going to be seen. It's still plenty visible, but that just kind of reduces the intensity of the light output of the truck. And this is especially helpful for when you go into scene mode. And a note about scene mode, no matter what response mode that you're in on this truck, when you put the vehicle in park, what that does is that puts this into the red only scene mode, and it's called DVI mode, which is dynamic variable intensity. And that's just kind of the best way I can describe it is it looks like a glowing campfire, and that is the on scene mode, and that happens automatically when you put the truck in park. We'll go ahead and just go real quick. This has got a standard traffic advisor system on it, so you've got your left, your right, your center out. Really nothing too fancy there. But that really kind of summarizes the functionality of the controller system. When you get the truck, obviously, play around with it where and when appropriate. And then we also have a narcotics box here for y'all in the console. So this is locking. We've got the keys here, but we've got the locking box here for that. This little thing here, don't pay too much attention to it. This section was actually, it's for printers. We didn't spec these vehicles with printers, and this was actually, Harris was not supposed to send this, but they did. So this area here, I think we're going to have a metal plate for this pretty soon, so don't worry too much about that. Additionally, we've got some extra sockets for charging, and then this little slot here is actually designed for a cell phone, which I will demonstrate there. Or if you're charging it, you're gonna have to keep it up like that. But that is basically, in a nutshell, this vehicle. If you need 110 volt outlet up front, we've got one here. We've got an additional cigarette lighter here, and then you've got a USB C and a USB A as well up here. As far as vehicle, the settings on the vehicle, there really isn't too much to mess with here. I mean, aside from just daylight savings time adjustment and stuff like that, you really shouldn't have to mess with anything here. This vehicle does have CarPlay, so if you want to take hands-free cell phone calls and things of that nature, if you sync the EMS 10 and 11 phones to this truck, they'll automatically sync when the truck is turned on, and then y'all can take your calls and stuff hands-free, you know, over to Bluetooth. You don't have to physically tether the vehicle, or excuse me, you do have to physically tether if you want to listen to your music and things like that, but you can Bluetooth the phone to the truck, and that's relatively simple. So as far as the inside of the truck, the only other thing to point out is we do have a dome light up here, but you have to toggle that on and off. So you've got a red and a white, but that's basically it. That should hopefully get you all enough knowledge in terms of how this thing operates to get it in service this week. So the very first mode that we'll talk about is park mode. So when you get on scene and you shift the truck into park, this is what the truck does. This will do this in any of the 3 response modes. So if the slider is in position 1, position 2, or position 3, it's going to be in whatever mode, and then as soon as you come to a stop, put the truck into park, it's going to automatically override to this flash pattern. So I'll just kind of go through real quick the different modes. So the first flash pattern mode is a red only to the front, red white to the sides, and then the red amber to the rear. And you'll notice that in all modes, cap kill and the door sill illumination overrides. This is what response mode 2 looks like. Response mode 2, again, being a warning or response lighting pattern with no automatic sirens. So the siren does not automatically come on in this mode. And then lastly, we go to position 3. And position 3 is the full response mode with a whale siren. So this will automatically bring your whale sirens on, and this is what the lighting pattern is doing on the truck. So from here, and we can do a quick 360 on it. And actually, Chesapeake, if you'll keep it back there, I'll show them the brake override. So the pattern has a brake override on this truck, which looks something like this. So no matter what response mode you're in, are you able to see the bar, Chesapeake?
I can hold it where they can.
So it's actually going to override. If you hit the brake, it overrides the pattern, so that folks know that you're actually coming to a stop. And then as soon as you let them off the brake, it goes back into the pattern. That's hopefully going to enhance safety a little bit. So then coming to the rear here, and actually I'm not going to be able to do it with it in drive, but I'll show you all the cap kill or the Dominator kill on the back of that. But this is the full response mode. So with this controller, another thing that we can do is we can override the lighting pattern to closer mirror the change in siren tone. So when you go into Yelp, the lighting pattern will change, and when you go into the piercing mode or the intersection mode, you'll see the lighting pattern change. So you're not going to hear the sirens come on because this is still the demo mode. But this is what the truck is going to do when we bring the Yelp on. So you notice that the flash intensity changes. The bar is actually wigwagging white and red. So a little bit of a pattern change there. And then intersection mode. When you hit the piercer, so this is going to bring on, increase the siren tone intensity, and it also obviously increases the lighting intensity. So this is the intersection clearing mode. This will bring on the howler, all of your sirens at once. So loud and bright. apart. If you come back to the back of the truck, you'll notice that this thing is...
Communication, truck 74 responding in place of 72.
You'll notice that you've got the Dominator bar at full intensity and it's right at eye level. You can come back here and push the black button, and that's going to go ahead and turn off the Dominator so it's not in your face. And then as we pull the slide module out, I'm not going to pull it to full extension, but you will notice that there are also warning lights on the sides, the side profile of the slider, just for a little bit of extra visibility so somebody doesn't back into it. So going to the toggles, as indicated before, when you pull it down, that turns on red glow mode. So that turns on your red task lighting. And you've got it over the little pull-out desk, and the whiteboard. Your cubby lighting can only do one color, so the cubby lighting will stay white. That's not a fault. That's just how we ordered it. When you push up, that puts it into white mode. That'll also bring on your tail light, your tailgates into white, and that also gives you a little bit more scene lighting on each side of the truck. But this is what the cap looks like when illuminated. All right, so the next mode that we'll show off real quick, if we're in a snow, ice, heavy rain, fog situation and the white is too intense, a couple of things that you can do is you can reduce the intensity of the lighting by hitting low power. And the second thing that you can do is hit white cut.
So that's white cut.
And what that does is that kills all of the white output. It keeps the same pattern, so whatever pattern you were in originally is retained. It just pulls the white out of it. And that hopefully will kind of calm things down and reduce a little bit of that glare and that splashback when responding. So that's what white cut looks like. We'll go ahead and take a quick look at the front cut. I'll bring the whites back on. This is front cut.
All right, front cut lighting.
All right. And another thing to point out is that no matter what mode you're in, you can bring your scene light, your front scene lighting on if you need a little bit of extra light. So there's your front scene. You'll see that that overrides the pattern, but you still get a little bit of warning.
Front scene lights.
When in a non-response mode, this is your front scene, and then you can toggle on your left and right independently.
Independent
You
toggles.
also have steady red mode, so all of the red on the truck illuminates.
Steady red.
And we have a driving light mode, which brings the grill, the two forward-facing grill lights on. So if you need a little extra forward light, but you don't want to go crazy, you can toggle that on. And that pretty much covers it. Another crucial thing that I want to point out is up until now, we've not had shorelines on administrative vehicles or non-ambulance vehicles. So this is on a 20 amp circuit. This is an auto ejector, so theoretically, when you turn the truck on, this is supposed to shoot out. It is great that it does that, but I would trust but it's a trust but verify type situation. You want to make sure that this has come out. So we put it at mirror level, and also in a space where everybody can pretty much get at it without having to stoop or do anything crazy. But just make sure when you get out of the vehicle, always remember to put this thing on shore. Especially if you've got things plugged in the cap, because they're not going to function if it's not on shore power. So when it's on shore power, if there's a cap heater or anything that we have plugged in inside of the cargo area, if it's not on shore power and the vehicle's off, it's not going to get power. So just make sure that that's plugged in when you get back to the station. And then obviously before you depart the station, give the mirror a quick look and make sure that this did actually shoot out. It's got some pretty good throw on it, and I'll demonstrate that. So it will come out, but it's just something to kind of watch.
thank you, sir, for a job well done.